Hey everybody. Let a few people join in here. Get my chair ready. Okay. All right. For those of you who are in here already, I've got a little heater going on down here. Is it too loud or is it okay? Hey Bradley. Hey, greetings in Portugal and Holland. Very cool. Thanks for joining me, guys, girls, wherever you are. Hey Jack. Heater's fine. Awesome. That's good to hear. Oh, 2 people from Holland on one stream. Hey Tavis. Man, it's not really that cold here, but it's just cold enough to kind of put a little chill on you. So I'm glad that the heater's not too much. I'm glad I'd be able to keep that on. Jack, I'm doing okay. How are you doing today? I am going to put some of these gloves on here real quick, just in case you guys ask me about the gearbox, because that thing's messy. Alrighty, so we got a few people in here already. Welcome. Okay. If you haven't seen yet, there is a link in the description of this live video for a giveaway that's going on. Check that out. It is a performance head giveaway. So if you are interested in performance cylinder head, that is available until December 25th. So just want to get that out of the way. If you guys want to enter in, the link is in the description. It's totally worth it. I mean, that head is awesome. It's really, really nice. What questions do you guys have for me today? Hey, DJ. Got anything new? Guys, any new mini problems that you need help with? If not, I can kind of give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into the gearbox. I'm still filming it, so it's not totally done. And it's still in progress, but if you want to see it, Alex, of course, I'm always going to spam your feed, but I've got a direct line to you now. I'm going to spam you directly. The DJ, I think I posted your sticker. Have you not received it yet? Because Alex Toon, I sent one to him too, and he said that he didn't get it. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of disconnect happening between the U.S. Postal Service and the Royal Mail. I think we probably know who the person who's not holding up their end of the deal is there. I'm looking at you, England. Bradley says he's restoring a Mini 1000. Nice. What part of the restoration are you at right now? Are you starting to take things apart, getting things put back together? Wait, Alex, I needed to put postage on it? I didn't realize that. Well, I guess that's my problem right there. Bradley says rust removal. That is the most tedious part, is rust removal. But once you get past that, you can get into some of the fun stuff. You guys want to see this gearbox? I've got it sitting on the floor right down here. Cole, what water pump do I need for a 1991? So I can't remember. Let me see here. Do I have my old water pump? I don't think I do. Well, I was really hoping that I had my old water pump here I could show you. There are 2 different kinds, one with a little bypass hose on the top and one without. And you're going to want to check that it doesn't have a bypass on it, that you don't have some sort of swapped motor. But I think the 91s and later didn't, like those later model minis, little bypass anymore. I think that was blocked off. But you looking back where the top of the hose on the back connects to the water pump, there's a little right there, and if you see a little rubber hose going in between it and the head, you'll need one with a bypass hose on it. All right, I'm gonna scroll through these comments here. So it's hard to keep up. Dan the Car Guy says, I'm restoring a 1985 Mini 1000. That sounds like a project. There's a lot of Mini 1000s coming on the scene these days, it seems like. It says, best way to film an engine build. I don't know if there's a specific way to film it. You need to make sure that you're into editing. Some of the when you're filming, one of the best things you can do is kind of trim out all of the ums and all of the things that don't really matter, and really like figure out what you want to focus on when you're going through an engine build. So, you know, focus on the fun stuff, and if you're trying to teach people, you know, you probably want to take more time to show all the little things. But if you're wanting to just show people the whole project, you know, time lapses are your friend, and kind of focus on the big things like, oh, I just put my timing gears on, or oh, I just I'm putting my head gasket on, you know, the big things. That would be my tip. Wow says, state that your gearbox initially came. How did you handle all the crud and rust? Well, I haven't done any handling of it at the moment, but you can see here, that is still pretty crusty and rusty. I don't have the main shaft, but my plan is to actually replace it with the gears over here. See that? I guess I could just move the camera, huh? So all these gears came with the gearbox from Paul Jeffries, and so there is one missing, I think, in there. Yep. But I'm planning on using those. I'm gonna try and clean up the other ones. I'm gonna let them soak in maybe like a vinegar bath or something like that. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'll be sure to put it on the episodes when I do. Samuel says, greetings from Portugal. Hello. Turk says, what's the difference between a 1275 GT Leland Mini and a 1275E? At all. Sorry, that one's outside my knowledge base. Dan the Car Guy says, earlier Mini had bypass, mine hasn't. So then you're definitely gonna need, I'm assuming, you weren't the one that asked about the water pump though. Who was it that asked about the water pump? My 1992 Rover Mini has a factory-built electric sunroof, but part of the car is roof liner is shot. How do I replace it? I don't think I've ever seen a Mini parts store that sells a headliner that was made for like a sunroofed Mini. You might want to check out, there is a upholstery place. I guess it's upholstery, it's kind of more than that. It's called Optimize Automotive. They do a lot of Mini stuff, and I bet you they could help you out with the sunroof headliner, or at least point you in the direction of. Andrew says, is there any reason why my water pump pulley is ever so slightly touching my head? Water pump pulley so slightly touching your head. Oh, the one that goes over the actual the water pump. Maybe it's bent. Maybe it's too big. It shouldn't be touching your head. It definitely should be making. So maybe a bolt's come loose and it's like askew or something like that. I checked. It's hard to see, but there's 4 bolts that go through the fan. And if you've got a later car, you should be able to kind of take out the bolts at the top of your radiator and loose it a little bit so you can lean it. Look to make sure all the bolts are still in that fan. Might be a good place to start. Alex Toon says, a what Mini? Mate, your accent kills me. Yeah, well, here I am. I am who I am. Dave Jaguar says, hi Cole, where in Italy will you be living? We haven't picked a place yet. We've kind of just chatted about like what we really like. In the times that we visited, the place that we really fell in love with was Florence. And if we did live somewhere in Italy, I think it would probably be in Florence, or at least in the countryside or just outside of the city. I'd like to have enough space to have a garage or something of the sort so that I can fit, you know, minis and project cars. So it's still a little ways out. I mean, at the minimum, we're probably going to buy some property near Florence or at least in Tuscany somewhere. Mini BK says, I think there was only a 1000E, which is for economy, but the 1275 GT was a sporty flagship of the Mini range. There you go. Twig says, I stay in South Africa and their Mini 1275Es, however, I can't find much online. I think a lot of the South African Minis, I feel like they were produced in Australia. I don't know that for sure. I feel like I remember reading that a while back. So you might look on some of the Australian Mini forums. Zach says, I'm interested in buying a classic Mini, and there is a 1993 998 Rover Mini with no interior but mostly clean bodywork and no paint job, so effectively a shell with an engine for £1,000. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I mean, based on what you just told me, that seems like a pretty good deal, assuming the motor runs and everything. You can have some fun with a 998 if you spend some time kind of tweaking the motor there. Ilias says, are you moving to Italy? No concrete plans for us to move to Italy anytime in the very near future. I am an Italian citizen. Well, at least I'll be claiming my Italian citizenship by blood here shortly. My appointment's in February here in the US. I'm going to go to a consulate there, and I'll be claiming that. So once we have that, we do have long-term plans of living in Italy, but we don't have any, you know, immediate intention to move there just yet. So soon, maybe, eventually. So a lot of people joined in just a minute ago. Just a reminder, there is a performance head giveaway that I'm doing with 7 Mini parts. It's live right now, so if you want to try and win a performance head for your Mini, links in the description. Just a quick reminder there. Bradley says, what are people getting for their Mini for Christmas? Yeah, that's a good question. Share with us the stuff that you're interested in. Mine's a 998. You can have it machined out to 1,000. I think that you would be better high flow head than increasing the displacement in that way. It's kind of a weird displacement to get right at 1,000 there in the cars. You effectively have to do like fraction overbores in those pistons or in those cylinders. I would definitely probably go a different route and get a high performance, high flow head and modify the block to accept that. Dave says, any chance you'll be at International Mini Meet 2019? So I have been consistently dropping hints to my wife that I want to do this, and generally speaking, it's not hard for me to convince her to travel. She's super into it. We're just people who like to go places. But we are already going to South Africa. We're going to Cape Town in March, so for a friend's wedding, which is really exciting. And it's all about like, can we swing the 2 international South Africa from North Carolina? It turns out it's very, very expensive. So fingers crossed. I'm going to keep dripping on her. I'm really hoping that I can convince her to go. I don't know that I would consider the Mini reliable, but they're easy to fix. So if you are interested in learning about your car, occasionally not, I think that a Mini is probably a good place to start. If you're expecting something that you can trust consistently every single time, you might be better off looking elsewhere. Mick says, do you know of a decent turbo or supercharger setup for a 1098cc? This is something that I'm investigating right now for myself. I'm really curious about it. I don't have any, I don't know of any kits directly, but I do have some friends turbo on their 998. I'm not super certain which turbo, how they're getting that all set up, what manifold they're using. I think it might be the Mini Met manifold. Don't quote me on any of this stuff, but that might be some good places to start. Dan the Car Guy says, I'm keeping mine standard, but I used to work on a classic rally, classic rally minis, and the machines amount to 1,000. Huh, interesting. I've never heard that before, but that's pretty cool. Ilias says, when Rover bought Mini, they didn't make a 998, only a 1275 SPI, and later, 1996, the MPI. So the wiring is not the same because of the injector and ECU that the SPI has. Yep. Ilias says, Mighty Car Mods did a supercharger, the Mini MPI 1275. They did, but I feel like the supercharger, they converted it to a carburetor. I think they took the MPI out. I don't remember though. Alex says, how about an R1 conversion? I have always thought that that would be really cool to do. They are not reliable for a daily driver. That chain drive, because you're still driving the wheels with a chain, and the chain is, even the top rated chains are really just weight and the torque and everything that you need to move a car. So you're constantly having to service and repair that chain. So it's really a race car, in my opinion. Other people might disagree, but if I was going to do an R1 conversion, it would be a race car. The DJ says, Cole, do you think it's worth building your own wiring loom or just buying one? I am a firm believer, this is from my day job as a programmer, of not reinventing the wheel. And unless you have a really custom reason that you need you to make your own wiring loom, I personally think that everything where it needs to be already, and it's just done. And there's a price, there's a certain threshold, and $200 is below the threshold of expense when work I would have to do to, you know, set up my own wiring harness. Ilias says, what about a VTEC conversion? Tech just kicked in, yo. I like the VTEC conversions. I've said in the past that they are kind of, when you put a VTEC in the Mini, the extra weight and everything up in the front, it makes it feel a little bit different. Well, a lot of bit different, aside from the extra power. It kind of changes the Mini feeling of the car. Not totally, you still get the small compact car, but it just doesn't drive exactly like a Mini did, which is, I guess, to be expected. I think they're really cool, but I probably wouldn't do it on an early car. I'd only do it on a later car. Dan says, yeah, the later Minis had to meet emission standards here in the UK and fitted the 1275 so they can keep up with the traffic. Yep. Ollie says, I just found your channel today and binge watched the engine rebuild. Has it been finished? Will it not be? So that 998 rebuild is, I'm assuming, what you're asking about. And it is going to be finished. The person that I'm building it for and building it with, he recently had some kids, 2 kids in fact, so his life is like, whoa, crazy stuff right now. So I'm trying to be respectful and let him really enjoy his children's birth and time with them. So once his life kind of simmers out a little bit, I'm going to tackle that stuff with him again. The motor is at his house, waiting for me and him to connect up and do some fun stuff with it. I do have some really cool plans with it. He does, I guess I should say, he has some really cool plans for what he wants to do with the motor. I think you guys are really going to enjoy. But it'll be next year sometime, like early in the year, you know, January, February, something like that. The DJ says, Cole, when you flip fronting the Mini? Well, I was thinking about doing that. What do you guys think? Flip fronting a Mark 1 Mini? How's that sound? Good? Yeah? I think it'd be great. Just gonna flip front. You know, in fact, I'll lift it up the other way so that I can get access to everything and never have to take anything out. That'll fix my radiator shroud issue. Dave says, sorry, 100% right on the wiring loom. Yeah, man, it's just like, there's this threshold of, is it really gonna save me money if I have to spend days putting it together and fixing it and doing all this stuff, you know? Luca says, "Hi Cole. Hey Cole, do minis have an interference engine?" I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're referring to. An interference engine? I've not heard that term before. Steven says, "Bought an all-original SPI today. Best first mod." On an SPI Mini, best first mod. I don't know, do you like loud minis? You could do like a new exhaust. That could be fun. Maybe check the suspension, see how that's rolling. If it's all up to date, up to snuff, you could change it out for some performance shock absorbers, springs if you're interested, or even just a new set of cones. Those would probably be the first things I'd start with. If the motor's running really good, you don't want to change something that's working. Dan the Car Guy says, "What's the mini scene like over there in the States?" It's funny, we have kind of like a split mini car scene over here. Because the US is so big, just physically, it's very large. California and the West Coast has their own kind of mini clique. And then the East Coast, which is my mini clique, is, we have probably about 1,000, maybe 1,500 minis that are regularly driven in groups. And at least on the East Coast. And then there's also kind of the Canada clique, but they kind of fall into the East and the West, whichever one they're closer to. So it's good though. There are actually definitely don't see them on the road. Like, I've probably seen on a wild mini on the road probably 6 times in 11 years. Ilias says, "What about rear disc brake conversion, or does that only make sense if you make decent power by like swapping the A-series engine?" So the disc brakes in the rear, this is actually a really common question. And the thing with disc brakes in the rear, one, you don't really need them. You're not getting a lot more braking force out of discs in the rear on this Mini. The discs are just not much larger than, the stopping power of the drums. And most people is to cut weight and to equalize the brake pressure between front discs and the rear. So really what you're paying for is a large amount of weight reduction. Past that, unless you don't really want to reduce the weight, it's not really worth all that money for me on a daily driver car, something like that. Tariq says, Cape Town, what? Man, I hope I run into you. Yeah, I won't have my Mini, so you won't see me that way, but we're going to be going to Cape Town and then like a small town, Queensland, maybe? It's up to the east, I think, northeast from Cape Town. I'm not very well versed on the... Lucas says, I mean, if the timing chain snaps, will the pistons hit the valves? Yes, probably. Probably yes. But it's pretty unusual for a timing chain to snap unless you've got like a really, really old one that's not high quality, or you put something in that's kind of shit. So is there something that you're worried about there? Mick says, US isn't that big, Australia is the same size. How many miles is it across Australia? Because I think it's like right around 3,500 miles across the United States. It takes a little while to get across. I certainly can't just drive to Texas on a weekend trip. It's like, it takes some time. Ankin Morrison says, best budget front disc brake conversion. Mini Sport has a really, really good set of disc brake conversions. If you want to keep 10-inch wheels, you can do 7.5-inch discs. They do cake jumping up to 12-inch wheels. It's expensive. The cheapest way would probably be getting a used set somewhere. But if you can't find one, Mini Sport just has a really good kit that you can just swap right on and off. Dan the car guy says, I was told by a guy at my work that the brake limiter valve makes bleeding the brakes on a Mini a nightmare. I'm assuming he means that proportioning valve, but the back, the only hard part might be the brake booster, but even then it's not that difficult. Frosky Gamer says, hey, my dad is driving a 91 Mini Cooper and I'm following from Germany. Thanks for joining the stream. And I think I remember you posting a comment on another one of my videos. Ali says, when buying a Mini, what are easy places to check for rust other than and other issues? Well, I would show you, it's dark now in the US. Unfortunately, our daylight savings time schedule ruins daylight for me. But under the windshield, or windscreen if you're in the UK, right before you get to the arches that go over the wheels, there's a crease. That likes to rust a lot. Under your door sills, those like to rust. The space right in front of, so you have your rear wheel here, directly in front of it, that space likes to rust a lot. There's a lot of places that like to rust, if I'm honest. It's really just, think about where water would collect when you're driving, where moisture would collect, and those are the places that you would want to look for. So, follow the car when you're driving down the road. Mick says over 5,500 kilometers, so that's, yeah, I guess Australia and the US are what size there. That based on my very advanced mental calculator and converter from kilometers to miles, that is identical. So, panels for the Mini, e.g. Magnum or Heritage. So I have purchased only Heritage ones for my Mini. I've only had to replace a few things, specifically the floor pan on my Mini. I did not weld it myself. I'm not a very good welder. I had some help back when I first did the car, but I had to buy the floor pans and the front valance underneath the headlights and down, and I did Heritage, and they were great. So I can say for sure the Heritage ones are good. I think a lot of people use the Magnum ones and aren't unhappy with them, so. I'm not much of a boxer. I was in martial arts for a long portion of my life, but I don't really watch boxing. I used to watch every time. Dan says, I love your workshop, very tidy. Mine's in an old tin roof barn which has a few leaks. Yeah, this has been leaking. It definitely didn't start this way. That's so funny that you're working in an old shop like that, or old barn. The first place I ever worked on the Mini was in a parking deck here in the United States, a multi-level parking deck, and I restored the whole subframe in the front and the rear on the balcony of my apartment. They weren't too happy about that, but I got it all done before they even figured out that it was out there. So what else do you guys have for me? Does everybody know that I'm in the process of doing a gearbox rebuild? I was thinking that I'd have to rebuild my gearbox, but thankfully to do that, it ended up being something really simple that was popping it out of gear unintentionally. So to make a new video for you, rusty crusty gearbox here that I'm doing a rebuild video on. I'm almost done with the de-assembly. Disassembly, not de-assembly, what am I talking about? Disassembly. That will be done hopefully this weekend, early next week, and then I'll be publishing the video next week sometime. It's comprehensive. I hope you guys like it. It says, cheers, man, as a new bonnet and doors, and also door-to-door hinge posts. Tell them, take off what you want off of it. Dan says, I'm planning on completely rebuilding my 998. Yeah, so the 998s are very fun to rebuild. I mean, they're really all fun to rebuild. But I did that 998 rebuild series that, again, is on hold at the moment. And then I've got my 1275 videos that hopefully that will help you out. Says, was your Makita cordless impact wrench a good investment? I will say a couple things. Well, damn it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, you can't use it on every, kind of hard to get it into. And the other issue you run into is because it's like impacting, that clicking, it's actually creating a small amount of impact when you're putting it in. Sometimes it can strip bolts out. So you just got to be careful when you use it. That's all. I think it's awesome, and I would definitely buy it again. DJ says, Cole, have you ever done a rebuild? Like a gear selector? Like the shifter? Or the actual gear selectors inside here? Wonder what that was. It's a bulk ring. What kind of selector are you talking about? CH says, did you see that episode of Columbo where he vomits on the Magna Carta and he gets his foot stuck in the flat? I don't even know what that is. Ollie says, would it be possible to restore the exterior of a Mini within a few months, 5 to 6? Depends on the state of the exterior, really. And you got to have a shop that's like basically ready to start to drive it or move it into the shop. I think it might be tight. I think it might be a tight deadline if you try and do that. But anything's possible, and it depends on your budget too. If you've got a lot of money, probably have a lot easier time getting people to get motivated. Frozen Fish says, is this Paul's gearbox? Yes, that is the gearbox that Paul Jeffrey sent me. As you can see, I've already got the diff and stuff out. If you didn't see before, I'm in the middle of filming this still, so it's not done, and the video's not done yet. I've been editing it like basically every night this week. Ollie says, if only slightly rusty. So let's kind of imagine a scenario here. So you've got your car, you bring it into the body shop, and you can see only a little bit of visible rust. And you've got it already prepped, so you've got all the like lights and chrome and the windows, all that stuff is out already. And so you drive it in, you're like, fix this up for me. And what they have to do, they'll have to sand down all the clear coat on the car. They'll have to and find the extent of the rust. So there's always the risk that, you know, this tiny little rust spot is actually like this big and gets this big because it's hidden under the paint. It's hidden underneath the other side of the metal. So they gotta sand that down, weld in patches if they need it, body filler if that's applicable there. And they gotta sand it down, get it really prepped, primer it, sand it down, primer it, sand it down, paint it, sand it down, paint it, clear coat. And so all of that takes a lot of time, realistically, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to meet that deadline. The DJ says, I mean the bushes on the selector shaft. Like in the actual gear selector box that's underneath, like where your actual gear lever is? I'm sorry if I'm like being dense right now. I'm having a hard time imagining what you're asking me. Dan the Car Guy says, in my experience, you go to sand out a bit of rust on your Mini and end up finding more and more rotten panels and do what I did and ended up completely rebuilding it. Yes, see, that's basically reiteration of what I kind of got into there. So as you can see firsthand account, that is what happens. Yeah, so those bushings, I've never restored one myself. I've never taken them out and redone them, the DJ, to answer your question. The kit that I bought, I actually bought from 7 Mini, so it was all kind of put together already, and I really only had to do light assembly with it. Basically putting the shafts back in, putting the little like thing inside it back in there. So I haven't had to push those out. If I had to redo it, I would probably take it all apart as far as I could and then bring it to the machine shop and say, can you push these bushings out and push these new ones in? That's probably what I'd end up doing. Oh, also, I just thought of something. I got a bunch of new stickers that I put on the merch store. There's one of like a DIY mini that's lots of different color ones back in stock. So if you guys want some stickers, those are for sale on the merch store, and the money goes straight into the channel to pay for all this stuff so I can make videos for you. It's for me tonight. Tonight. It's nighttime basically in both places that I think most of the people who are on here are streaming from. What kind of mini, if I was going to get another project mini, what kind of mini would you guys like to see me work on next? The kind of motor that you want to see? Or is it just that 998 and stop getting new stuff, just find time to do the 998 motor? Dan says, did you know that the Volkswagen scene and the mini scenes are the biggest in the world? That does not surprise me. I've had a Volkswagen GTI, I've had a few different Volkswagens, and I have always been able to find help on those things. Like, it's so easy to get in touch with someone who knows, who has a wiring diagram, or who's done such and such to the car pricing. And then obviously, of course, I'm part of the mini group, so there's a gazillion mini people out there. I don't know why people like these damn cars so much. They break all the time. Nicholas says, a mini gem. I don't know what a mini gem is. Did you mean JDM? Rusty Import says, what's your personal opinion on the Mini Metro 1.3s? I like them. I have nothing against them. The 1.3 motor, I mean, the core of that block is great. You know, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff with those 1275s. Ollie says, do you think it's worth trying a rebuild without a workshop, garage, etc., only to have a decent driveway over here? Some things I would tackle there. I used to only have a garage, or I used to only have a driveway too, so I moved from that apartment complex to a house with no workshop or anything. I would not do a really intense motor, complete tear down and rebuild in just a garage. Either kind of take over a room inside the house, although it gets really messy, or like try and find a place you can do it clean. I would be okay doing suspension work, interior work, even a little light body work, and light engine work. But if you're tearing it down, tearing the motor apart, I would not do it in a driveway. That's probably where I would draw the line. Dan says, people love minis because it's great fun to own them, and ages trying to, and it broke down. Yeah. I guess most people who own minis, the old minis, it's so funny, new mini people are always like, yeah, I love those old minis, you know, I'd love to buy one of them, and then they're all about their bolt-on parts, you know, they just walk down the road and like, I think I'll put a cold air intake on my car. Boop, boop, done. Did it in an hour. And it's like, you don't know the pain. You don't know the pain of these old minis. So I think that old mini owners, you need a certain amount of grit to own one of these things, because you always got to be resilient when they break down. Oh, so check this out. I posted this on my Instagram a little while ago. So if you're on my Instagram, Classic Mini DIY 59, follow me on there. I post fun stuff from and every now and again. And this right here is a differential. Let's see here. And it says, or maybe you'd have to go for a Riley Elf. No, those aren't for me. Not a fan of those Riley Elves. I think they're uglier than Homemade Sin. But I do think they're cool. I just would never own one. There's not for me. But check this out. So this is the differential that came out of that gearbox that's behind me, and I figured out why the gearbox is totally trashed, or at least that wasn't working. See right here, see that pin? This right here, definitely not supposed to stick out like that, nor is it supposed to be bent like that. And what's happened is it started to slide out, so the planetary gears inside here. This whole thing is inside is totally seized. So that's why this was kind of taken apart. A lot of the chunks in these planetary gears in here are out as well. So, but yeah, pretty crazy stuff. These old differentials are trash. They're not made for power or like reliability or really anything for that matter. What else do we have here? Dan says, Classic Mini owners are highly skilled and have style. I would agree with that. I have not met a Classic Mini owner who has not been stylish. Take Tom from Total Car Reviews. He even says that he's stylish all the time. He says, in style. Which, I mean, it's obvious, right? Rusty Imports says, I asked you that because I have one and... I'm back. Am I back online? Timer's counting. I think everybody's here. Did it reconnect? Is everybody here? And myself. Hello? Okay, good. Still here, just. My internet's been kind of funky. So then asking about the signal. It is raining here, so maybe there's some funkiness going on with the weather and all of the lines and stuff and all the tubes out there. Rusty Imports, just wanted to get back to that. I asked you that because I have one and everyone else is thinking about swapping the engine to the Mini 1000, but I have a feeling everyone does that for it being an ugly car. See, I don't know why you would want to go from the 1.3 to a 1000cc motor. That's quite a lot of displacement lost, and the 1275s are hard to find these days. Avenger says, how about a 5-speed conversion? I think that would be really cool. They are really expensive to do, and I don't think I'm going to be doing it with this gearbox, to say the least. I don't have the kind of cash to be able to do something like that. But I would love to do that sometime, or at least go into a 5-speed gearbox so you could see what it's all about. But yeah, you guys have any other questions for me? I think I'm gonna kind of wrap up this. I'm gonna get back to filming this gearbox and finishing it up. Hopefully we get a few more tools in here. Dan says, do you talk to your Mini like it's a list? It's mostly cursing though. It's mostly anger and frustration that I am saying to it. Brendan says, hey Cole, ever had a brand new disc brake caliper where the port to the bleed nipple is blocked? No. Brand new with the port being blocked. I've never seen that before. If it was brand new and it was blocked like that, I would probably contact the seller and ask them to either. Nicholas, thanks for joining. Thanks for the kind words. Says, love your videos, keep up the great work. Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that. That's what keeps me going. I'm glad you guys enjoy them. Brendan says, how much of a difference did sound deadening make to your Mini? There's a few things, few specific parts of sound deadening that did a bunch of benefit for me. The first thing was a sound blanket on the bulkhead, on the actual like firewall window is. That's the first one. That made a night and day difference. Sound deadening under the hood on the actual bonnet hood, that really helped. And then past that, the stuff that I did inside the car helped. I would not say that it was as substantial as the other one. So I did two. I did the anti-vibration, which is the tar-based one that you stick onto the actual like sides and everything. And then there was closed cell foam, and those were cut to set down on top of the stick-on whatever. I just lost my train of thought. The closed cell foam is going to cut the noise. The stick-on stuff cuts the vibration. So I think all of it combined really helped a lot. Like without it, it'd be really loud in the car. But the biggest ones were sound deadening the actual engine compartment the most. Dan says, do you get a lot of attention with your Mini? Yes. Yeah, no matter when I go places here in the US, because nobody's seen these things, I mean, Minis are really unusual here, I always have to leave early because people always want to stop and talk, and they want to, you know, ask me questions. How much fuel economy does that get? Is it fun? You know, how fast does it go? What is that? And it's cool, it's fine. You know, if it bothered me, I wouldn't own the car. But yeah, I always have to leave early so that I leave some buffer room to have conversations, random conversations with people. But yeah, coming up to the hour here, and got a few other questions out of there right at the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. Thank you so much for joining. I know my other ones have been a little bit longer than this, but I gotta get this done so I can post my new video for you guys. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you guys. I hope that it helps you a lot. It's definitely gonna be the amateur's guide to a gearbox rebuild. I'm not a professional. So, but other than that, if you guys have any questions, any questions about the stuff that we talked about in this episode, post them in the comment section after this gets turned off. Would you buy another Mini? Hands down, yes. Without any doubt, I would buy another Mini, for sure. It would be a pickup, for sure. I would also buy a shell and build it. I would do that too. Although the hardest part usually is finding a motor, not the shell. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. See you then.